All right. And I don't know if you can see the trees over there very well. You can see how white they are. That is the type of cherry tree that has the white blossoms, and also perhaps you can see the green of the leaves also coming out at the same time that the cherry blossoms do. This tree is a different type. Uh, the blossoms are very pale pink, almost white, but they have just a little bit of a pink tinge to them, and the leaves have not come out yet. This one's not nearly as far along and blooming as the ones across the street there. The ones across the street there, you can see, are blooming quite nicely. Um, and the leaves are coming out at the same time. Right? Uh, as I said, there are a lot of cherry trees in my neighborhood, in this part of the city. There's another cherry tree over there. Lots of things going on around here. Okay. People stopping at the stoplight. So obedient of them. Japanese love rules, and they're pretty compliant, but there are some things that it's like, that one's not particularly important. See that in driving, the way they use their turn signals, the turn indicators, the winker, whatever you want to call it. Um, they tend to not be very good about making the lane change indication. They will put on the blinker, maybe blink once or twice before they move over into the lane. Sometimes they put on the blinker as they're changing lanes and so on. It really has no meaning. Yeah, in fact, yeah, the way Japanese use the blinkers to me has almost no meaning. A little bit difficult to understand. But, so that's one. To me, you want to put on your indicator and allow it to blink a few times before you start to make your move into the other lane. I rarely see that happen. There are some overly cautious Japanese that do that, even to a greater extent. Let it blink for several seconds before they make their move. But the majority go the other way, and by the time they put their blinker on, it's almost meaningless. In the same way with the turn, when they turn, they are sitting in a turn-only lane, and they'll be sitting there and sitting there, and it's a turn-only lane. There is no choice there. You have to turn, and yet about the time they're ready to turn the corner, they'll turn on their turn signal and say, yes, I realize I'm in a turn-only lane, and I'm going to not break the law and go straight through this intersection when I'm in a turn-only lane. I mean, it's kind of the idea of shouting the obvious. It's like, yes, I'm turning. All right, enough babbling about the way Japanese drive. I'm sure they hate the way I drive. Anyway, they have to cut this part out. All right, so where are we here? My usual little narrow part of the streets here. And let's see, while we're waiting to get to something more interesting, I'll remind people that in a little more than an hour, I'll be doing a broadcast, my USA Peace Game quiz. If you have the time and the interest, I encourage you to drop in and participate in the quiz. There's that little park area. Car repair. And back on the street. And we're coming up to the university area. And before the university, or at least before we get on, we're able to cross the street, and the railroad tracks to the university will come to the small stream. Currently, it's more or less a dry run, but during the rainy season, there's quite a bit of water that flows through it. We'll come to that where we find a lot of the cherry trees. Based on what we saw at the beginning of my video with those trees there, comparing to what I can recall I saw yesterday as I was getting home in the afternoon, I think the trees along the river, beside the stream, should be more fully bloomed today also. So we'll check that out. And there's the train. Okay. Now there are definitely more blossoms visible now than there were when I was walking here yesterday afternoon. Today is Thursday. This is Thursday morning where I am. And tomorrow is the graduation ceremony for the university where I work. So that should be pretty nice. That if the cherry trees, if the blossoming advances as much between now and tomorrow as it did between this time yesterday and today, the cherry trees should be looking pretty nice tomorrow. You can see they're not completely open, but definitely much more than they were yesterday. Much more than they were yesterday. That one cherry tree just past that vertical obstruction there, that post or whatever it is, again seems to be, well, it looks to be maybe 90% at this point. Most of the others are still less than 50%. But it's getting there. It really is getting there. Let's take another walk along the edge here, see what we can see. Yeah, the trees are getting much fuller. Yeah, see that tree, they will all be blooming to that extent probably this weekend should be absolute peak, I would guess. Hello from Athens. Athens, okay, cool. Welcome, Gary. All right. Well, as I said, the cherry trees are still in the beginning stages of their blossoming. Here in Georgia, USA, the cherry blossoms are done and going green now. Oh, okay, yeah. I was just commenting, there are several different types of cherry trees. Some of them are, they even have a willow cherry tree where the branches hang down almost like a weeping willow. Um, but the two major types are these that we see here, where the blossoms are tinted a pale pink color, and those that are more pure white, and the the ones that are pure white have a tendency that the green leaves appear almost simultaneously with the cherry blossoms, the white blossoms. So you'll see a mixture of the white and green, which is beautiful in its own way. I mean, the most common, the most prevalent type are these that we see here with the pale pink, and the leaves are nowhere to be seen yet. They have not started to appear yet. That's interesting though. The cherry trees are already finished blooming there. This is about the typical time frame for this part of Japan. Of course, as you get farther north, it's delayed. So if you were watching someone in, for example, Aomori or Hokkaido, their cherry trees, I doubt if they have really started to bloom. They should be budding well by now, but I doubt if they are blooming yet. I don't know for sure, but I would guess. Yeah, as I said, the ground here, they've planted it so that it doesn't really lend itself to picnicking so much. There are a few areas, but the way they've trimmed the bushes that were here, leaving the stumps, going to make it an uncomfortable place to sit and have the hanami. But this is not generally an area where people do the ohanami, the cherry blossom viewing. Um, this is more the walking tour of the cherry blossoms. Yeah, there's the tree that's probably the farthest along. Like I said, it looks to be, oh, yeah, there are a few leaves starting to sprout there too. This is probably the farthest along. It's 90% open at this point, close to 100%. Yeah. If we look at the ground, there are a few blossoms that have already started to fall. Hopefully, we'll have nice weather through the weekend so people can really enjoy this weekend, the blossom viewing, the ohanami parties, and so on. Okay, let's cross here. That's the university cherry trees. They are blooming too. Again, so a lot more blossoms visible now than there were just 24 hours ago. Uh, the cherry trees, you have to enjoy them when they are here, because they're not here for very long. When they're gone, it's another year before you'll have a chance. Okay, let's cross the street here when there are no cars coming. Okay. Athens, Georgia. Huh? Okay, Athens, Georgia. Never been to Georgia. I flew into Florida. Uh, did not stop over in Georgia. Did I miss? Okay, check both ways. No trains coming. You can generally hear them long before you can see them, but there's that tree there. Again, I can see some leaves starting to appear there. And the cherry trees down in that area also. Past that spiral. There's a spiral ramp that goes around the outside of that, leading to the upper floors. There are also interior stairways, but anyway, this is the university. There's a rose garden there, flower garden. Areas. We normally, or before the COVID, they didn't have the table set up there. They just had the low wall or cement bench there for people to sit on, but they put the tables out there to encourage people to sit outside, and if they're going to communicate with each other, to do it in an outdoor area. Of course, it's much safer. All right, well, I think it's time for me to get to work. For, as I said, just 1 hour from now will be my broadcast, the broadcast of the USA Peace Game Quiz. So if you have time and an interest, I hope you'll join in. We can always use more players, and you might learn something. I usually do learn something about America. All right, so thanks for tuning in to this little update, and I'll be back.